Kenny Veach claimed to be quite the adventurer, but how true is that really? Because there is evidence to say he wasn't as hands-on when it came to exploring caves, and one of which, during his hike, he appeared scared. What did he see which we didn't? Welcome to the Kenny Veach M Cave mystery. Today I want to share with you yet another contradiction by Kenny himself, caught on camera during his M Cave hike route, and on top of that a reflection on one particular cave which seemed to impact him negatively. Whilst Kenny had already described his M Cave encounter as a little scary and intimidating because of the vibrations, being unprepared, not having his firearm with him, when it came to this other cave, whether you want to call it the M Cave or an alternative, he was still scared based on his voice, body language and movement. He did not stick around long, and that's when he was equipped with a firearm. So it kind of puts into question, how prepared was Kenny really? He claims he needs some items here and there to go exploring, but when he does have those items, did he? That appears to be not the case. So upon these contradictions, we do need to look deeper into the theme of, whilst there can be a constant, a factor, an element that may not change, may not move, it's what comes and goes in between. What Kenny saw or encountered on one hike, he may not have done on another. From other hikers that have gone there since, on one hike some years ago, maybe they did not encounter anything. But then a few years later, when they returned back to the same spot, something had changed. Something was caught on camera. That can possibly apply to Scott Natal's encounter compared to Jeff Clark's encounter. It can apply to Kenny Veach's encounter, to maybe SB Vega's encounter in some areas. So join me today as we do a deep focus on one particular cave that scared Kenny Veach and what could have been present on that particular hike. The same could apply to Really Robin when he claimed to have done 2 hikes but only recorded and uploaded 1. Maybe the second hike video he could not, because he encountered something he wasn't supposed to or was expecting, and it scared him, causing him to leave YouTube. This is like quite an umbrella factor, how it can impact and affect different hikers. And as for Kenny Veach, maybe the same happened. So with that being said, I just want to say welcome if you're currently here during the live premiere. Share your live reactions in the chat box right side of the screen, and at any point or time, let me know your thoughts, questions, theories down below under the video in the comment section. All comments are welcome. As well, pinned message below if you want to support the channel, PayPal link, channel membership, and the full playlist on the Kenny Veach case with the recent coverage too, so you don't miss out on anything, is available where the eye symbol is up there, top right corner. First of all, what I'm going to play to you right now is a clip of where Kenny describes what he's done and in regard to spelunking in the area, and then we'll go from there. Make sure to listen in.
There's actually caves all over the place up here. It's a really cool place. If you want to come spelunking, this is the place to come spelunking, man.
After listening to Kenny Veach's claim, it could raise a few eyebrows, considering ever since when other hikers have gone out there looking for the M Cave and other clues, they have yet to find a deep enough cave to explore. All the caves out there which have been caught on camera are very shallow. So what is Kenny talking about really? Unless Kenny did explore caves when they were open at some point in the past. Ever since, maybe filled in or naturally caved in, you never know. But beside that, when it comes to walking by a particular cave which could be explorable, did he really manage? Because as it's worded here, in his own words, YouTube comment some time ago before going missing when describing his encounter with the M cave that the entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave that I find. Is that so? Well, let's take a look at this clip.
Yeah. And then there's caves like that. You know, looks like. I'm not going up there.
It was rather interesting what he mumbled or whispered to himself when panning around. What you got to take in mind is when Kenny's going out there, supposedly to most people the first time out there on camera recording, it should be a showcase. Showcasing where you are, what you're doing, what it's all about, location, from point A to point B onwards, which Kenny failed to do considering he only started at the mine shaft. He didn't fully document his journey. It's a big thing going out there, even bigger for Kenny because he's trying to prove to the world as something that he's encountered out there. And whilst this on screen may not be the be all and end all, it might not even be the M cave, it's just a cave. If you're going to say stuff, you need to back your words up with action. And what did Kenny do? He panned around, he looked at it, zoomed in, looks like, and then said, nope, I'm not going up there. You're not going up there. But you've claimed that you enter every cave that you find. Is that not a cave, shallow or not? Why did Kenny not go inside? Oh, because he's limited for time. Well, let's remind ourselves that when Kenny's going down Pitcher Canyon, which he is here, I was looking on the left-hand side, which is, was it northeast to southwest, probably a bit southwest or so, the way he's looking at the side of the canyon wall and the rocks. He was getting towards the end of his hike. You know, he was getting on the way back with his loop hike. And I'm sure that there was probably a feeling within that he was reaching the end of where the cave could be at. Because as soon as he came out of Pitcher Canyon, he pretty much accepted that he couldn't find it. He still had 3 to 4 miles to go south back to his car, his vehicle, which meant passing by Robbins Canyon, the one Jeff Clark was at, the one Scott Natal was hovering around when he came across that figure caught on camera lurking in the background. That Kenny Veach was to walk by those areas of interest. Maybe they weren't of interest to him, who knows, but to admit that you can't find a cave, and that's once you've come out of Pitcher Canyon, kind of implies that it's nowhere onwards or on the way back. Meaning, if you're at the end of your hike pretty much, you might as well explore what's around and available. So you back your words up, you stay true to yourself, and you still provide the viewer some hands-on footage. Because ever since when hikers like Scott Natal, SB Vegas have gone out there, they have been hands-on. They've got up close, looking for clues, looking for caves. Whether it's an M cave or not, they've gone up close into mines, into mine shafts, etc. Why didn't Kenny Veach? If he's such an adventurer explorer, he should have done the same thing, and yet he didn't. And you could say, well, short for time. You might be short for time, but once you get out of Pitcher Canyon, what else is there to look at? In the mindset of Kenny, there wasn't, based on his wording. He pretty much accepted defeat. So the least he could have gone inside one cave or so, but he didn't. And with his behaviour, something seemed a bit off about him. This is a still screenshot in case you were wondering. 2 circled. The one on the right probably isn't that interesting or that big of a deal because it is quite small. However, you could argue it might have been used as a den. An animal could have gone in there to sleep at some point. And this is what I'm getting at. What you see on screen is there to last. Maybe at some point due to erosion or rockfall or any cave-in, it could change visually, but that's more natural. But it's not been built, but it's, you know, the word, the line, the saying, built to last. It remains there for quite some time. It's not going to move or disappear. Most of the time it's not. But if you've got something living and breathing and you capture it on camera, or you sense, or you see what others don't, through your own eyes, etc. The next time you go back out there, if you do, is whatever that you encountered going to remain there? No, unless it's a statue, unless it's a monument that some years ago you walked by, you took a photo. Then you come back again in the future, it's pretty much still there. But when it's living and breathing, it'll be on the move too. So what one hiker comes across, another hiker may not, and vice versa. If this was a den, for example, for an animal, would it be for a cave lion or mountain lion, whichever one you call it, because I know the other one's a prehistoric thing. You're going to come across a lion lurking in there. Whilst Kenny Veach was out there in October and made it back home safely, when he went back out the next time around November, was he caught short? Did he come across something he wasn't expecting? But that was around the mine shaft based on the scent ending there. Depends how you look at it, of course. But still, it could have foreshadowed what he may have encountered in the future, onwards. What you may have seen here is something what Robin may have encountered elsewhere when he was doing his other hike on 27th of June, and that's why he didn't upload after, and why he disappeared pretty much. People say there's a crossover between the original Robin Albatross and Kenny Veach. Is there a link that what Kenny experienced, Robin did too? And that's what made him disappear, but not go missing. Slight difference. However, beside this here, if you used to tilt your head and look to your side, in some ways it could resemble a bit of an M when you look at the lip of it, slightly up and down. Is it deep? Maybe not. Is it dark? Yes. And the reason why I say deep, maybe not, because to most people's eyes, you could say yeah, but to some people that have been out there, they would say no, and Sean Horlacher is a good example of that. This is where the debate comes on him. Beside this location, which Kenny Veach did walk by, other caves which could have been explored, searched, well, Sean Horlacher exactly did that. Why didn't Kenny Veach? If you know you're coming to the end of your hike, right, and you're sure that it's somewhere down Pitcher Canyon and not once you exit, if Kenny can't find it, why not go up Skull Canyon? You know that one, which is more north or so on the right. And if not that, why not just explore these caves here? At least one of them is shaped like an M, the one on the right. Yeah, it doesn't match all the characteristics. It's not deep enough, it's not dark enough, but it's technically a cave. And as Kenny said, when I find a cave, I enter every one. The argument, the counterpoint could be, well, maybe on a previous hike, he did walk into them or crawled in, and he had a quick little look about. Just that on this recorded hike, he chose not to explore them because he had already done that in the past. That makes sense. However, that particular one, because of his wording and language, seemed different. And even if you did come across a cave, you've already been inside of it. Next time you go there, what happens if something has changed or visually inside it looks a bit different? You're just going to say, well, I've already been in there, there's no point. Or are you going to say, looks different. I can see something this time round. Something feels like it's changed. You'd go back in to double check. Would Kenny Veach be willing to do that? Doesn't seem to be the case. And was Kenny Veach even aware of that keyhole? The one in that shallow cave, the one where it looked like a reptilian eye peeking through the hole. Was Kenny ever aware of that back then for him? Was there anything lurking or spying on him beside Sean Horlacher's encounter of 2016? Makes you wonder. Speaking of Sean, whilst he did explore that area which Kenny Veach walked by pretty thoroughly, it's been said, I believe by Jeff Clark, that possibly in 2016 or if it was 2019, one of which, Sean Horlacher did in fact explore that area highlighted in the big circle. And that's quite significant and prominent because when you zoom in here, as Kenny Veach did, it's possible to get up. It's not too demanding. It is on the side of a mountain, but towards the lower ground area. When looking even closer, when people saw Kenny's footage, they could make out eyes, those two white dots. But based on what some hikers have said, and like Sean Horlacher, it's more like paint. Well, not actual paint. It's like from birds, droppings, markings like that. Basically, sheet, for example. With that being in mind, you could say, well, then it's not that deep. It is what it is. But you got to also understand, Sean Horlacher went there in 2016 and then onwards. Kenny Veach went there in 2014. The difference between 2014 and a 2016 hike can be drastically different because for each hiker, they can experience different stuff. They can go to the same location, but what was once there for one hiker is no longer there for the other. So when Kenny Veach was walking by and he panned around and in quotes, he said, "looks like." What does it look like to Kenny? Is he talking to us? Is he talking to himself? If he's familiar with this area already, if he's already explored the cave, to say looks like implies maybe there's an addition, something has changed. Look at it this way, either Kenny has never explored this cave before, meaning he contradicts himself when he claims to have explored every cave that he finds. Walking contradiction. On the other hand, if he has already explored it, well then the next time you pass by and pan round, you should pretty much say, and you got caves like this. I've already explored them. I'm not going up there this time round. Fair enough. But he didn't quite word it like that, did he? He just said, looks like, implying that it looks like M cave, it looks like something is inside, and that's why I'm not going up there. It looks like there is a cave mountain line in there hidden away. Makes you wonder. Beside those two markings there could be something inside or lurking in the dark, whether that just be an animal, wildlife, still dangerous, or something human-like, or the unexplainable. But when Sean Horlacher investigated it, whatever was in there may have gone, long gone by then. And that's why Sean pretty much said, or in the words of like Jeff Clark, went up there, didn't find anything. But, what about the mine shaft? Jeff Clark came across the mine shaft in 2016, 2017. And in 2017, when going inside of it, unknown to him at the time, he actually captured a crystal skull on camera. Yet when SB went years later, there was no sign of a crystal skull. And for some other hikers in between too, like Scott Natal. So you go to the same location, but you see and experience different things. Coming and going. Not everything is a constant. Not everything remains. And that's why it's important to acknowledge that experiences can greatly differ from person to person. And there might be more to it when it comes to areas like this. The fact that Kenny appeared a bit scared, his tone of voice, how he moved on quick. He wasn't planning on sticking around. He knew he was coming towards the end of his hike. He knew that maybe the M cave, the chances of that was running out. And he didn't think to stop here and just give it a try, give it a go. Or at least show on camera actual proof of him exploring. You put aside his supposed deleted other videos and you see Kenny's comments and then one video, all his claims and statements, do they match or link in with this one hike? No. He says he does this and he does that, but does he share it in his footage? No. He talks about the cave, but he doesn't give the location. He's doing his hike, but he doesn't say where he starts from and where he's going up to. He doesn't really give compass directions. He doesn't give named locations. Is it all done on purpose? Is it intentional? Is he not quite thinking clear? There's all kinds of factors, but we still refer back to the focus of this one cave and the contradictions by Kenny, like how he contradicted the characteristics of the M cave itself. In addition, what we must not forget is This hiking area of Picture Canyon is a hotspot area for strange, unexplainable activity going on. From maybe what Kenny Veach encountered at one point, to what Kenny Veach caught on camera, which changed his mood and behaviour, to later on in time when Jeff Clark was hiking up Picture Canyon, as in, let me rotate it round, up that way like you were going towards Wild Horse Pass, the opposite of what Kenny did. That Jeff Clark experienced lost time. That SB Vega's adventures years later when coming up this way too experienced lost footage. It just randomly disappeared. And SB only knew about it once he got home and he was editing his footage, piecing it together, and wondered, hey, where's that stretch of the hike? Where's the footage? It's just gone. What caused it to disappear? It makes you think. And in regard to Jeff Clark, when hiking up this way, specifically this area here, where you've got the row of caves, the covered cave, the keyhole cave, and the M-shaped cave, and then parallel, the cave that Kenny Veach was scared of, and at some point, Jeff Clark's M cave finding not far away, that in this area, when taking a photo of a boulder with a skull on top, and then taking another photo up that way, round the bend of the canyon, under 1 mile, and the time difference of the two photos taken was about 2 hours, 10 minutes. It does not take 2 hours, 10 minutes to cover under 1 mile on foot. Not a chance. Not even in this area. Something badly went wrong. And on that day, Jeff did get zapped. Vibrations. Similar to Kenny Veach. So there is that argument that what Jeff experienced in this area for missing time, maybe Kenny Veach experienced the same. But what needs to be acknowledged is, Jeff Clark, you're comparing photo A with photo B. For Kenny Veach, he was only doing a video recording, but in fairness, you could possibly compare when Kenny started recording and ended, and then when he started recording again, checking those file details. However, we simply can't do that because we don't have access to the raw footage, the unedited footage. I don't think we ever will. But nevertheless, Kenny may have been influenced in this area in other ways. So there's definitely activity going on here beside the mine shaft. It's interesting that when Kenny Veach was walking down here, he didn't notice the M cave in this area, slightly on higher ground, an M-shaped cave, quite prominent if you get the right angle, lighting, and you see it. Jeff is really the only one to have done so. But considering that Kenny Veach is trying to look for the M cave, and there are M-shaped caves nearby, Kenny didn't even say, oh look, there's an M cave, there's an M-shaped cave. He didn't even mention it or acknowledge it to any extent. And that's what's really weird. It might not share the full characteristics, but it shares some of what Kenny described. And you would have hoped that he would have said, yeah, like this. Okay, he may have said, well, it's not the kind of cave that I'm looking for. But just at least acknowledging that it shares some characteristics, and yet he didn't. Very interesting what's going on in the area, of course. I do believe enough awareness needs to be spread on that area, because whilst other people have been there, such as Aquachigger, that just simply walked by the area and didn't properly investigate or acknowledge the other references and key points of interest, someone needs to. And with credit to the other hikers that have gone up close to the area, I think just as a suggestion, if any hikers are watching right now, one thing to possibly investigate further, because Jay Silverheels didn't really go full on, and I think he deleted his video, would be that keyhole cave. So where you see the covered one, as Sean Horlacker referred to, the covered cave, and then in the middle, you've got the keyhole cave, and on the right, you've got the prominent M-shaped one, which Kenny Veach walked by and said, that's the kind of cave I'm not looking for, you know? That middle cave, which is shallow and has the hole at the back, if a camera could be inserted in some way, or a torch and a camera inserted within. It might have been caused by bees chewing away at the rock, making a hole, a nest within, but how deep is it really? Does it go into the mountain? Because it's on the wall of potential caves. Is it like all connected to one? I'm not too sure. I know Driven X Adventures had put like a little snake camera or so into the cracks or gaps of the supposed covered cave, but what about the keyhole cave? I think that's worth taking into consideration in case anyone wanted any ideas for exploring, debunking, or reinforcing. As a heads up, I'm sure Kenny Veach didn't investigate the hole either, unless he did at some point it went wrong, but we've got to highlight that the descent did end at the mine shaft even before Pitcher Canyon. But the area is important in my opinion. You let me know if you agree as well. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video to spread that awareness, and appreciate you watching. With that being said, my name's Warlike Raf. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night for now.